Welcome to Technical Difficulties, coming to you again from downtown Quarantineville, where now when you accidentally make eye contact with someone in the store, they can no longer see you smirk awkwardly and only see your dead eyes desperately looking at anything else. And quarantine has brought another issue into our homes that most people aren't talking about. Dust. Yes, the accumulation of dead, sloughed-off U-bits that covers everything around you has only gotten piled deeper now that we're all stuck in our homes with all our skin flake producing family all of the time. Not only does it land on every flat surface, but it creates skin drifts in your electronics. Whoa, sudden change in scenery. Yeah, so technical difficulties hit some technical difficulties. So I'm kind of here to fill in for other me and finish some of the things that didn't get said when the mic happened. For example, right now, what I'm saying is, I feel like maybe I'm going a little too hard on the skin stuff for some of you. If it helps, only about 50% of dust is usually skin. The rest is worse. Thankfully, someone came up with a solution and decided to sell us air. But not just regular free air. Air that's all squished up in a can and gets really cold when you use it, and you can't turn it upside down, and it leaves kind of a weird, wet residue on everything you use it on. And it also costs $5 a can and runs out after a few uses. Surely we can bash something together to replace this with the power of technology. Let's go! I got inspired to try and build something when I saw this little guy at Target. The O2 Cool Deluxe Necklace Fan. Me again. Yep, Mike still sucks. What I'm saying here is, I can't really speak to how useful it is to tickle your underneck with a light breeze on a hot day. I kind of immediately thought I could repurpose this instead. So that is quite refreshing, if I'm honest. So the hard part of making your own home air blower is usually the fan blade. If you don't get the layout perfectly balanced, then you end up with the earthquake table from one of my first episodes. But this guy already has a little one kind of built into it. That being said, it really needs way better air pressure to make a duster out. We can do this a couple ways. First, we need to amp up this puny little motor it's got with something a little more kick. I'm thinking maybe one of those high-speed motors we use from the Nerf build. We also need to figure out how to cram some more battery power into this, because this piddly little 3 volts isn't going to cut it. And finally, we need to constrict the airflow down to something smaller, which will give us the power to really blast those people bits out of all the tight corners. So let's start by taking it apart and see what's in there. The inside is pretty straightforward. It's just the battery compartment. We've got the switch, and then the motor with the fan blade on it. So I've got to get this fan blade off without breaking it to be able to reuse it. I'm going to take this acrylic knife, but really anything flat would probably work, and just kind of work it under the edge and start kind of prying it up gently. If the whole motor comes out, that would actually be awesome, but no. All right, that wasn't too bad. So the motor is obviously much thinner than what we were hoping to replace it with, which is one of these little Nerf motors. So I'm going to have to cut a hole in the back about this size and run the wires out to the contacts. A couple modifications we can make here. That's too much surface area. I found this little thing at the hardware store in the electrical section. It's a, don't know. I'm gonna fill the remaining slots on here with hot glue and then hot glue this on so that we have just one small little pipe instead of this whole area. Then I also found this thing, and I'll put that on the end to take it from a 1/2-inch connector down to maybe a 1/4 inch. So that should really tighten the airflow up and hopefully give us a nice, good gust. Admittedly, it's been a long time since I used a hot glue gun. Successfully, anyway. How many sticks? This thing just ate the first stick completely. When I see other DIY YouTubers using hot glue right and left, and I'm jealous because that looks way easier than all the nonsense I usually do. All right, there's our improved nozzle. Let's see if we can work a better motor in here. 3/4 looks about right. Let's try there. Will this actually fit on there? Because that would be awesome. Oh, yeah, it does. Dang, that is good solid connection. On the upside, cutting a hole through that, the bottom of it also has provided me a little mess to test with. Now again, I can use the voltage as sort of like a speed controller for the motor. All right, we're getting some airflow. It's a 12-volt motor. Uh-oh. First motor died. Briefly, I got a little bit of air. Thankfully, I got a few more of these. So I can only mess this up like 6 or 7 more times. Gently reconnect the power. All right, I'm gonna take it all the way up to 12 volts. All right. Ooh. And then the motor melted. All right, so most likely what the problem is here is that though it is rated for 12 volts, as I noticed as I was cranking up the speed there, I think it was drawing more amps than this motor is capable of handling. I think maybe these 3.6 volt lithium batteries that I got for the Nerf build may actually be perfect for this. So now all I need to do is then run some wires from the old battery contacts to the motor itself. I'm gonna use my hot glue gun to just kind of slather this thing in there and keep it from moving around. Okay, so after a lot of futzing about, I've decided that this little switch is probably not up to the task, since it's only rated for 5 amps on here, and since I've already melted 2 motors, I think maybe we'll just go ahead and assume that I shouldn't use things that are not rated for the things I'm going to use them for. I still have one of these toggle switches left over, and hot glue is all the rage in DIY, thinking maybe I'll just glue it on the outside and then run the wires out to it. I'm also not entirely sure that I'm happy with the, mere 7.2 volts that we're getting out of these 2 batteries. So I thought, maybe 2 more batteries. Big shout out to AT&T for helping us throw a huge RTX this year. Without them, the show wouldn't have been possible. AT&T's 5G network is fast, reliable, secure, and now available nationwide. So whether you're at home or on the go, you'll enjoy coverage in more places. Plus, AT&T makes it simple, with 5G included in all consumer unlimited plans at no extra cost. For more information on AT&T 5G, go to att.com/5G. So adding additional batteries is really just as easy as connecting them in series with the existing battery compartment. Right now, we've got our positive and negative coming out of there. I just need to connect it to the positive on here and then run that through to the motor, and then we should double the power. All right, so that seems to work, so we'll move ahead with that idea. All right, so now I just need to figure out how to stick this all together. So I'm just gonna start smearing hot glue on it and hope for the best. I mean, as far as things go, smearing it with hot glue and then saying you did it is actually pretty satisfying. Just, don't ask me to ever replace the batteries in this thing. Well, there's our final creation. As long as I can blow the dust off this table, it won't have been completely a failure. Just in case, let's make sure I get video evidence here. All right, here we go. Oh yeah! I don't know what's up with that one. It's a piece of solder that's actually soldered it down. Now I'm blowing it onto my floor so I can clean it up later. Cleaning up the mess I made. Definitely won't have to worry about where any of this is landing. Yeah. Now, hear me out. I know that the Haywood Industries Mark I Dust Destroyer is not exactly as powerful as the Canned Air. However, you can replace the batteries in it, and if we use rechargeable ones, then you just buy them once and you're done. And it really did at least sweep some of the stuff off my desk. Personally, I just kind of dig my sort of pseudo-cyberpunky looking thing. All the exposed wiring were a design choice and not laziness. Also, if you hold it wrong, you might electrocute yourself, but only a little. Now, this is usually the part of the show where I try and take it to the next level. But long story short, it didn't work. So I built this iteration out of a CPU cooler, fan blade, some nuts and bolts, and a 12-volt drill that I got from Target. I don't think it has the RPMs to really deliver on a lot of airflow. Also, using the top of a DVD spindle as a vacuum chamber really wasn't great for airflow. I think obviously the blades on this fan were not really meant to push air out. They were supposed to push air that way, or this way, or that way. As a result, this really didn't work at all. But that's partly what this show's about. Not being afraid to try something and seeing if it works. And when it doesn't, you go back, you regroup, you come up with a new plan. At the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with the thing I built actually working. Even if it may not be the Canned Air killer that I was hoping for. That's it for technical difficulties. See you next week. Looks like the kind of thing they would play in Tatooine.